respectful of everybody's Friday. Thank you all who have joined us for one of our informative Fridays with Nordic. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat viewer, I'm glad to have you back. I think we have a good topic today. We certainly have a good person to present it, Chrissy Fry, one of our top finance consultants and somebody that I've worked with for decade and a half. Is that right? I don't know.
Oh, I don't think
Maybe
there's a need
longer.
to say that.
Okay. Um, I I'm Mark Borsheim. I'm our senior vice president over the ERP business line here at Nordic. But I will say originally I am a CPA and I originally was a finance guy. So this particular topic is near and dear to my heart. Without further ado, I think I'll turn it over to Chrissy. Molly has started oh, well, yeah, thank you for the disclaimer. Molly has started to record this for us, and certainly we will also be posting it out on our YouTube site. So for anybody that wasn't able to make the call, or if you just want to review anything that we went over here, it will be available out there for you to review at your leisure and share amongst anybody that you might think might be interested in it but wasn't able to make the call. So with that, I'll turn you over to the very capable Chrissy.
Thank you, Mark. And thanks everybody, like Mark said, for joining us on a Friday. It's a short holiday week, so I'm sure, anytime you miss a day during the week, it piles up. So I appreciate you joining us. Hopefully we'll make it worth your time. I'm going to talk about just kind of a guide through payables and looking at payables reporting, really. Just on our agenda, you'll see just an overview and then just a lot of different areas within payables where we can take a look at different reports and list views, and we'll get into that. But, I feel like payables is kind of a cornerstone of the financial applications because a lot, begins and ends there. So we really need to find good ways to look at reporting within payables. So let's go ahead and get started. Just kind of an overview of payables reporting. We all know payables is used to create invoices, store vendor records, manage the cash flow, and just generate payments. But the reporting within that system is really vital to running your business, and we all know that. So there are payables reports for all of those areas. We have open payables, cash forecasting, payment history, vendor balances. You guys know the drill of what payables has to offer. We can use it to complete required federal reporting, but I really feel like what Infor has done with the payables reporting has made it so user friendly. And, I want to kind of get into that because also it's very condensed and everything you need is kind of all within a very centralized location. So it's very nice. As again, I said, these are some of my favorite payables reports, but there are so many out there. It would probably take a whole day to cover all of them. And I know you don't want to spend a whole day with me talking about payables reporting. So I'm just going to hit some of the highlights, but just keep in mind, within your business, there's probably, if there's a report you need, it's out there. It's unlimited what you can find within Infor FSM. So again, just the importance of the payables reporting. It helps ensure accurate financial statements, helps with cash flow. The good supplier relationships, everybody wants that. You want to be able to see what you owe your vendors, make sure everybody's getting paid the correct amounts on time. And looking at these reports really can help with that and make it very easy. Also supports budgeting and forecasting. As a former, finance reporting person, we love that. So, and one thing I also wanted to comment on, you're going to see a lot of clip art in this presentation because I personally love clip art. So please feel free to comment in the chat how much you love all of my pictures and all of my clip art because I really tried to make them look amazing. So this one, we're just kind of starting to get into it, but brace yourself. There's a lot of amazing pictures coming up, such as this one. So first of all, payables invoice inquiry. That is one of my favorite screens we're going to take a look at just because it's so versatile. There's so many different things you can look at with this. And I just feel like it's a go-to screen for anything you really need within payables. You start with this screen, you want to search invoices that have been entered in FSM. Multiple roles can access this function. So within Infor FSM, there are 5 payables roles. There's payables manager, payables invoice specialist. There's just one that's payables. I mean, there's several. For those of you who aren't super familiar with FSM, just kind of keep in mind they have named these roles like this, like payables manager, but it's really just more the functions that the role can do. There could be several people that have a payables manager role. So just, when you see me saying what role we're using, don't get, too hung up on that because you could have multiple people within your company using a payables manager role. It's really just more about access and they happen to name it that, but you wouldn't just have a manager doing that. You could have other people with that role. So just kind of to clarify that. This first role I'm going to look at, though, is Payables Invoice Processor. And we're going to look at this process invoice screen, which is really got a lot of data on it. So one thing is when you go to certain roles, they're going to do this landing page where Infor has really worked on these landing pages to make it, when you access that role, the first page that pops up is going to give you so much information that you need. And they have really gotten good. You'll see several of them throughout this presentation, but it's really looking at what does this role do? What's their job functions? And can I make it easy for them when they open it to see the tasks that they need to complete? So the Payables Invoice Processor, it's going to open onto this page, which you can see like across the top of the page in the dark blue bar. These are all tabs that you can use to access different data within the system. But this is my favorite tab. So you can see on the screen, you have all of these different search criteria that you can enter in. But this is just our test system here at Nordic. So there isn't a ton of data in there. So I just went ahead and hit this blue search button right here, and it's going to pull back everything. And, as a former accountant, a lot of times, if you're not sure what you're looking for, you do kind of start big and narrow it down. So that's what I personally like to do. But if you know what you're looking for, a certain vendor, a certain invoice, you can always fill in any of those criteria up at the top. But basically, if you just pull back everything, it's going to return this screen looking like this with a lot of your data in it. So you can see all of the different criteria kind of across the top of what you're looking for, and we'll get into some of that later. One thing to keep in mind as well is that we can change some of this, but I'll talk about that a little bit more later. And so I kind of just went into this if the search fields are left blank and you can narrow your results based on, the criteria we discussed. Once you kind of get what you're looking for, you can always pull these list views, which is kind of what we saw, into a CSV or Excel format. So, in finance, accounting, Excel is king. As far as I'm concerned, I'll fight you if you want to say differently, because we love Excel. So the fact that you can take this data and put it into Excel and then kind of manipulate it and send it to other people, it's very helpful. So up in the top of the screen, they always have this all actions menu. That's these 3 little dots. And you can pull any of those screens into an Excel or CSV file, which is just huge because sending a print screen, to people who are trying to process and manipulate data isn't too helpful. So very important to know that any screen that looks like that one we just saw that has the lines, a list view, we can pull that into CSV or Excel. So again, here's that little button I was talking about, the all actions, where you can do that. And just to reiterate, this is called a list view. There are reports, canned reports, which we'll see later, but a lot of this kind of ad hoc reporting you look at is going to be in these list views, but they're very easy to use. Also within this all actions menu, you can go in and personalize these, which is what I was referring to. Let's just say you never use hold codes. you could go in there, you could take out this column of hold code and it wouldn't show up on your screen anymore. So, that's a really good function. If we're doing a payables invoice inquiry and vendor is what you're always looking at, you could move vendor to the first column too. So, that's not really the report itself, but just kind of the setup of how you would like to see the report. Just good to know that it is pretty flexible and you can kind of move it around as you like. I highlighted this box as well because it has this view image link. Anytime you see blue, it's going to be a hyperlink. So you can attach different backup and documentation to invoices. And when it pulls those into the list view, it's going to give you this link. So if you're working hand in hand with someone within your company and they're attaching data or an email or backup, they can always attach it to an invoice. And then when you're doing your reporting, that data is going to be available to you through a hyperlink. So just another really good feature that FSM has. I know just kind of collaborating with people and trying to keep track of data through emails and things like that, it can be confusing. So just keeping it all in one place is really nice. And these list views aren't just in AP. This is how FSM shows its data throughout all the applications. So once you kind of get used to them and see what you like, it's really nice because if you need to use it in another area as well, it's very easy to use and literally just minutes to kind of figure out how everything works. This is just an example of when you do pull it into the CSV or Excel format. You can see that just normal Excel, very easy to use, save, sort, anything that you need to do, you can put it in a pivot table and send it to somebody. So it's a nice way to pull the data out of the system and it happens instantaneously. You don't have to wait. It's just you do it and it pops up right away. So it's really nice for that type of data, especially during month-end close or when you're researching something for a vendor. You can just pull it right out and send it to somebody. Okay, open and paid invoices. I felt like this was a really good clip art with the pen and the invoice. So, please let me know if you agree. All right. So list view again. You're going to hear me say that probably 100 times in the next few minutes. This is the same list view we were just looking at, which is great because, like I said, it's just very versatile. You can use it for so many different things. So many people can use the same list view and pull different types of data. So you can see on this one, I have some search criteria. I was looking for statuses of release, paid, historical, and then you can see in this column, that's what is pulling back. So I'm looking for invoices that are paid, are ready to be paid, are already through the system. I'm not looking for what we would call unreleased invoices because they're not ready to go yet. There's still stuff going on with them. So, you can filter by the status. This is something I use a lot, like when I'm doing training, if I want to see if something has been pushed all the way through the system or not. Um, like I said, I use these screens every day. They're really user friendly and they're very helpful. Got just a lot of data on them. This is probably my favorite because I love hot dogs. And so this vendor information and open payables, this is a hot dog vendor. So I felt like this was pretty appropriate for this one. Multiple ways to view vendor information as well. We could use that same list view that we were just looking at, but we could filter by vendor if you know the specific vendor you're looking for. But there are other options for looking at vendors as well. We can go into this, there's a navigation menu on the left-hand side of the screen, and you can see when this search function is really great too if you're looking for something. But under creator search invoices, there's also this little tab for vendors. And from this screen, there's going to be several more list views that are more specifically related to vendors. So we're going to take a look at that. And this one was, I was looking for a specific vendor. I was looking for vendor number 30. which it's kind of weird because it's vendor 30, but the vendor name's vendor 5. But you can see it pulled up everything for that vendor. And it's also looking at the status again. So you can see the unreleased, released, pending approval. Just kind of nice to see if your vendor is asking what's the status of my invoice, you could go to this. And you can see up in the blue bar, there's just so many different options again. Well, this is still in the process invoice screen, I'm sorry, but just all the options. And again, the view image, where if you wanted to see what was attached there, you could do that as well. Now, this is where if we go into the payables manager role, there's a list view for vendor spend. So again, you're going to see all of this criteria that you could search on if you needed to. And this just pulls up by vendor. It's going to give you additional information, the invoice number, again, the status, due date, the transaction total, and then the net payment. So for example, on this one, you can see the total was 2,000 and the payment was 1,700. So if you wanted to take a look at that, you could and see what was causing that variance. There's also a report where you can do the current and highest balance. So when you're in that manage vendors screen, you can see your vendors, your vendor list, but then on balances, you can see what's currently owed and what their highest balance was. And also it's giving you locations. So if you have multiple vendor locations, it's going to break that out in that way as well. So, it just really depends on your business and what is useful to you. But we've definitely had a lot of clients who this screen is really something they would use. So, just depends on what works best for you. Invoice activity. Okay, this was a hard one to find. So I just found something with a lot of activity going on there. So let's just take a look at the invoice activity screens. Again, this is the Payables Manager landing page. So as I said earlier, Infor has gotten really good with these landing pages. This one comes across with these widgets, which you can see down here at the bottom is the overdue invoices, open invoices by due date. But there's also kind of like some graphics here that you can look at if there was invoice aging or cash forecasting. This is actually not even the whole screen. There's another set of boxes on here as well. This is what we have set up in our test system. These also are personalizable. So if there were other things that you would want to see on this landing page, you could do that as well. These are things that when we go to this payables manager role, I can instantly click on open invoices by due date and see what I need to see. And this is something that a lot of people have really liked and said that it's helpful to them. And they really continue to evolve and get better. So it's a really nice feature that Invoice provided. And as you get into these, you can continue to drill down to the very detailed levels. So a lot of hyperlinks, it's very user-friendly. Okay, as an accountant, I have to say I love the list views that have the distributions on them. So the search distributions is probably one of my favorite. You have I know I'm saying they're all my favorite, but this one's really my favorite. So again, you have your search criteria up there. I just left this one wide open and did my search. But this is going to give you totals by invoice, but also it's going to break it down by the coding by the line items. So, again, I said this is just our Nordic test system. So a lot of these invoices are very basic. But if you had multiple lines with different coding on them, you could come to this screen and see them. And when you're researching, if accounting is calling the AP department asking like, where was this coded or why was this coded this way or where else is this invoice hitting? You could pull up this screen and take a look at it and it's going to give you all of the coding plus some of the other details as well and the total payment. So, and it's going to give you by distribution date. So yeah, I have to love the distributions on any of the reporting because it's definitely very helpful. And what's nice is that it's all in one place. So you don't have to go into the invoice, drill further down, then try to find the coding. It's all just within this one screen. So it makes it nice when you're doing research, which is what we all spend a lot of time doing. Okay, bank account inquiries. So I felt like the piggy bank, he's looking pretty big. Everyone likes that. The money's going in. So very positive. Uh, so this one, a report, this is an actual report. So what you've been seeing from me is mostly these list views that I talked about, which I love. But also sometimes there are these reports set up that are like the can type reports in the system that are going to give you some really useful information too. This one I kind of put on here is located under process month end, bank account payment history. You don't have to do it as part of your month end process. It's just kind of grouped in there because a lot of times this is when you would be looking at it, but you could run this at any time during the month. And it's going to give you a payment date, payment number, all the invoices that were paid on that payment number. And you have your vendor, what was paid. So, just kind of a detail. This is several pages. I just added the first page in here, but it's just kind of giving you for your bank account payment history, but it is within the payables module. So it's not, cash. The cash application has a lot of their own reporting, but this one is within payables. So it's nice because payables needs to research this stuff as well, so they can go right within their own application and take a look at these payments that were made. This is just another one that's kind of similar, but it gives you a little more detail. Again, this is not a list view, it's the canned report. But this one's going to give you by vendor, your open, reconciled, void, stale dated, and escheated payments. So if you needed that type of breakdown with your payments, you could run this cash payment register. And when you go to run these reports, they also will have criteria. So if you had someone calling you asking for this detail, you could do that just for one specific vendor. You wouldn't have to run it for everyone. Any of this reporting can be narrowed down to whatever fits your needs at the time, or you can run it for everything wide open as well. Just kind of whatever you're looking for at the time. Okay, this is a really good little picture, I believe, because I really feel for this guy. I didn't need glasses myself until like 2 years ago, but when you look at a 10 key for many, many years, that's what happens to you. So let's look at some transaction type stuff. And also, as a precursor to that, we have seen some transaction data in these list views. I'm just going to kind of show you some additional things we can do, but you can always get the transaction data from some of those screens that we saw earlier as well. But I'm going to show you another one. So this one is one I really like. It's the invoice accrual reconciliation report. So it's a great way to view invoice transactions and analyze the balance of your accrual accounts. So in this example, we didn't have anything hitting this accrual code. But if you were accruing and using an accrual code, you could have, say you accrued $500 and the amount actually paid was 1,000, and it would show you the difference. So it's really a good way to analyze your accruals, see if they're reasonable, what you're booking at month end versus what's coming in the next month. So I think this is kind of a cool report. You have to set up the accrual code, but once you do, if you're a company that's booking a lot of accruals and wanting to see how those variances are coming in, I know like when you're explaining to management over accrual and under accrual, it can be kind of dicey because they just want to understand why there's a variance, but this is really a good way to kind of analyze that data. Payment detail history. So everyone likes this one. This guy's coming in with the cash. So we're going to take a look at these payments. This is another really good screen. I have to say, one of my coworkers showed me this one, and it wasn't even something I used that much. And when I saw it, I was like, wow, this is really awesome. So, as you're working within your organization, just collaborating with your coworkers, because you will find screens, like I said, there's just so many in here. And you're like, wow, did you know this existed? Because this really is helpful. So, just a great way to kind of learn just helping each other. This one is under the payables manager role, just several more list views you can see across the top. So we're going to talk about a few of these, but this one is really helpful when you're looking for payments. And I know I've said helpful so many times, but it just really is really helpful. So you can see it's giving you, again, a lot of information. Hold code if you're using it. You can rearrange this, like I said, on the other screens. You have this criteria up here. So there's just a lot of different ways that even within this list view that you can look at the data. Um, so I wanted to I'm going to go back to that really quickly. I'm going to show you some of these because they just really are so helpful. So I'm going to put my Infor screen over there. So I hope you guys can see that. So this is that first one we were looking at. And again, I'm just going to search it wide open. And you can see it comes back with that screen that we just saw. But then also here we go with the distributions. Awesome. You can look at all of these different payments, and it's going to give you the finance structure within those payments. So if you had a payment and you wanted to see where it was coded, you could go into this distributions by payment and it would give it to you. Now it defaults to 5, but you could make that bigger. And whatever line you have highlighted in blue, that's the line that it's going to put down here on the distribution. So, really helpful for research. This retrospective invoices, it's just going to give you kind of totals by vendor. And, please keep in mind, all of these can be exported to Excel and CSV just by, using this little button right here. And there's the export to CSV. It's as simple as that. We have a vendor payment history up here that, you can use these criteria to narrow those down. So I know you're probably seeing a pattern here, but that's what's really good about it is just the consistency of all the screens. Once you understand how to use them, which is a very simple process, then you pretty much can go into any of these screens and with just like very little effort, find what you're looking for, because they're all so similar. It's like when you go to the grocery store and everything's always in the same place, so you know right where to go. That's just how Infor FSM is with all of their list views. And then this is kind of nice too. If you wanted to go in and see an audit history for the distribution, you can see who's made changes to it, and a payment audit history as well. And this is one of the few screens that has this on it, but it's kind of nice when you're looking to find out why a change was made. So I'm going to switch back to the PowerPoint and go to this receipt detail history. So here's my thinking on this one. It was that this guy is unloading the truck and receiving these goods. So I felt like that was a nice little clipboard to add. This is just the unmatched receipt lines in a list view again, and we can go in and see for our purchase orders what has been received and what the status of it is, the quantity that was received, what was matched. If it was inspected, you could have that there as well. So just a lot of detail on those receipts because we're going to get into matching in just a second, but matching is kind of a complex process just because there's a lot of different hands in the pot for that type of accounting. So as much detail in the reporting as you can get with that, is just going to make things easier for everybody. So here we go, match reporting. This is an amazing graphic. If I do say so myself, we have the PO, we have the receipts, we have the invoice. So, well done me in finding this art to use. So the match reporting. These list views are so good for looking at any match type invoices in AP. They really have it down. There's a lot of data. You could add more stuff if you needed to, but I feel like they really have most of what you're going to need when you're researching match reporting. So you can see these 5 list views are within these match reports. So we're going to just kind of take a look at those. The first one's unmatched receipts, which we saw on that earlier screen, but also if you're trying to follow the process, that unmatched receipts was in a different spot. You'll find that too, where the same list view may be in different areas, because I think Invoice kind of trying to anticipate when you're doing a task, what you're going to need to see. So you may see it pop up in more than one area. Which I kind of like, because sometimes I don't want to leave where I'm at and go look somewhere else. So it's nice that it's kind of duplicative with that thought process in mind. So here we have the unmatched receipt lines, which we just looked at. Then we have invoice not received. So you can go in and see, okay, we have a PO, we have an invoice, we don't have a receipt yet. So it's going to give you the invoice number again. Look down here, distribution. That's nice, coming off your PO. And you can filter it as you would like and kind of get what you need, but it's going to give you all the data you're waiting for, but tell you, yeah, we have this invoice, but we don't know if we have the goods or not yet. We're waiting to find out. Oops, too many. Invoice cost update. This one is gonna just let you take a look at POs that have had a change to the original cost. So you could go in and see the reason why the cost has changed. Take a look at the original PO. Again, anything blue is going to be a hyperlink that you can click into and then see the detail on. So this is a nice screen, because a lot of times when the cost change, people are going to have questions about that. So you could go in here and take a look at that. Invoice messages. So in the 3-way match, if something is over, usually under, we're only going to complain if it's under quantity, not under price, right? But any variances over under quantity or dollar amount, you're going to be able to see what the invoice message was that was sent back to the buyer, what their comment is. Do we approve the message? Do we adjust the cost? So anything you've kind of had an issue with that had to go back to purchasing, you can go in and see these messages. So you can kind of see how you can follow the whole process just through these one screen with all these different list views. Anything really that you had an issue with or that you could have questions on in AP based on, just the normal course of business, you could find most of the answers to those questions kind of right here in this main screen. And the last one here is the invoice add-on charges, which, is just going to be your freight, your handling, little charges that got added on that so the PO doesn't agree to what your invoice price was, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. It just could mean you have these add-on charges. So you can go in and take a look. You could search by your invoice dates. Our add-on charges have a code. You can see this is handling, freight, SCM. You could search just by that charge if you wanted to. So a lot of different ways to kind of look at that. But very helpful when you're trying to answer questions for why things have changed. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about this. This is called the report catalog. I couldn't find a graphic for catalog. I saw a card catalog, which I felt like the younger people wouldn't know what that was, and it would make me feel really old because I used to go to the library and look in the card catalog. So I'm just going to do a binder with pages as the catalog because I don't want to feel like I'm too old. So this is kind of a newer feature that Infor has delivered. It combines reporting that was already available, kind of some of the stuff that we've already seen. And it also allows users to save reports that they use in here. At the very bottom left of your navigation, where you have your in-basket and notifications, you'll see this little report catalog screen. So I'm just gonna kind of quickly show you guys this. Like I said, it's new. I'm still kind of learning how it works, but you'll see within my system, there's the in-basket notifications report catalog. Now, this isn't just specific to payables, but I'm gonna take a look at payables. You can see I have them checked. But it's just going to give you all of these reports. And then also the ones that you like, you can star as your favorites. And then you can see there's a tab here for favorites if you didn't want to go through all this. I mean, and if you had access to some of these other reports, you could star them and have all of them just on this one favorites page. You can also see here the sharing, it's all public, but this is ones that people have created and saved in here. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on past due payments. And you'll see it's just as similar to what we've seen throughout the presentation, but it's all kind of there combined. So it makes it nice because you can just go right in here and kind of see a variety of these reports, just kind of all together. And if you had one that you created that you felt was really useful, you could save it out here for others to use. Which is nice because I feel like, you know, a lot of clients we've come across have had someone create something and everyone says, oh yeah, I would use that as well. So, you know, this is kind of a forum for you to save a report like that and then have it all in one place where everyone could use it. So again, still kind of learning about this, but I just felt like I wanted to show that because I think it's something really good that has come, you know, is really helpful to everyone. Okay, to wrap up, this is me, guys. I'm so thirsty. I've been talking for so long. I just need my glasses. Um, Really, I know I have kind of showed a lot of reports, but that's barely scratching the surface of what we have to offer as far as different list views, reporting, so many different areas you could look at. There's just many additional reports available. And I didn't even really talk about how Infor has its new report designer, which I don't know for any of you that are S3 people, it's really coming close to getting back to RW100, which is like very near and dear to my heart because I loved it. So you could make custom payables reports within Report Designer as well. So if there were certain reports, those reports are like more like the RWs where you might even try to make them presentable for like a board report type situation. But if there was specific data that somehow there was no list view, which like I would like to see that. But if there was no list view that you could find that gave you everything you needed, you could do a custom report in Report Designer, and that would just be something that, you know, a consultant could work with you on to build. But once you kind of get the hang of Report Designer, if you knew RW100, you can build in Report Designer as well. So I hope that some of that data was helpful. That's really everything I have. I'm sure everyone's ready to party like these guys because it's Friday and you've been listening to me talk for quite a while. But that really is all I have for you guys today for payables reporting. So I guess I will go to the next screen and ask, is there any questions? And I think Tawny really is helping with all the questions. I just looked in the chat and she's doing awesome. So thank you so much, Tawny. I really do appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And let's see if there's nothing else that has been done, then I think I will just pass it right back over to Mr. Borshon.
Thank you, Chrissy. No, great presentation. And appreciate everybody jumping on here on their Friday. I'm sure everybody's eager to, like I said, short week and probably eager to get to the weekend. Definitely want to let you know about Coffee with Consultants. Basically, if you reach out to that contact right there, or just to Molly, who's also, I think on the next slide, we can get you a free 30-minute consultation with one of our ERP consultants, such as Chrissy. So certainly encourage you to take advantage of that. and reach out. We're more than happy to help and talk you through whatever questions you might have. So yeah, thank you. That was our I think this is is this our last one for the summer?
This is it.
Okay,
Grand
so
finale.
Chrissy's closing it out. I'm going to take a few months off here over the summer with everybody. Everybody's schedule's pretty full and vacations and all of that stuff, but we will definitely come back with a brand new set of presentations for October. And certainly for those of you that have been on here, if you've got any ones that you want to see us try to put a presentation together, we're always open to recommendations and suggestions as well. So happy to put that content together. Without further ado, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.